The Joker is one of the most loved characters in both movies and books of all time. Known as the Clown Prince of Crime, he's been depicted by over a dozen actors in his cinematic lifetime. With the recent release of the 2019 Joker film, a massive question just rose. One so important and so crucial that it probably tore some families apart. Who's the best Joker? Now, I don't want to just be like everyone else and just simply give you guys my opinion. I want to come up with a clear conclusion on who this person might be and help those poor families that were affected and letting them look past their differences. With that being said, I won't be giving you guys who my favorite Joker is. In fact, my favorite Joker probably won't line up with the end result. In order to decide who this mystery actor is, we first have to define what a good performance is. You didn't see it, but I did air quotes. Because no one has the same exact look on a single performance. One person may think that an actor did an amazing job, while another person may think that that same actor made the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender movie look like a masterpiece. But remember, we're not here for opinions. Instead, we're going to take it back to the fundamentals. What are the basic reasons actors and actresses get hired for a part, and what do the directors expect from them? After a lot of thinking, I realized it was 10 times simpler than I thought it was. It's just accuracy. Apart from some special cases, I realized that an actor's job is to just accurately depict a character, from how they look to how they speak to their mannerisms. In fact, this is so true that some people get their part only because of how accurate they look to a character. I mean, you're not going to be seeing Michael B. Jordan play Austin Powers anytime soon. But in order to be accurate, you have to have something to compare yourself to. Most superhero movies, that thing that they compare themselves to is comic books. That's where they come from. That's where they derive their inspiration from. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. The Joker's very first appearance was in the first issued Batman comic book in the 1940s. The creators of this supervillain didn't come up with this character alone, although I'm sure that they would love to say that they had no inspiration, but they actually took heavy influence from a movie titled A Man Who Laughs, as you can see. With his very first appearance, I'm also going to be using probably the Joker's most famous comic book to date, The Killing Joke. Now that we have the material that we're going to be comparing the actors to, we just have to choose the actors that we're going to be comparing. Like I said earlier, a bunch of people have attempted to play the Joker, and to be honest, I don't really have the patience to compare all of them, so I just chose the 4 biggest debated ones today. But before we start, I would like to give some honorable mentions, because by no means are the 4 that I picked the only good performances. Honorable mentions are going to go to Cesar Romero, who played the Joker in the Batman TV show in the 60s, and Cameron Monaghan, who played a version of him in the newest Gotham series on Netflix.
Burn it down, brother. Burn it all.
Also, before we start, I would like to give some unhonorable mentions, like the Joker from Scooby-Doo and the one that looks like he's trying too hard to be a rapper. Why? Just why? Now that we got that out the way, let's get started. The 4 actors I chose to be compared to each other are Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, Joaquin Phoenix, and Mark Hamill. Now, as you probably know, one of these Joker's performances is part of an animated series, so it'll be a little bit more challenging to compare certain aspects, but I'll do my best. Now, for the comparisons, I actually divided it into 3 major parts: the costume design and physical appearance, mannerisms, and maybe the most important thing when it comes to the Joker is what drives the Joker, the purpose of why he does his crimes.
Hey guys, look what I found!
Now let's get into the physical aspect of the Joker. Looking at the original design of the Joker, from both the first Batman comic and from The Killing Joke, it's pretty apparent that both of them have a pretty similar outfit going on. It was harder for me to see the colors of everything that the Joker wore in The Killing Joke, but from what I saw in both comic books, the Joker seemed to wear a long purple coat with either a green or orange undershirt. And most of the time he was also wearing some sort of pretty janky looking bow tie. First, let's look at Jack Nicholson's Joker.
It's me, Sugar Bumps.
During his performance as a Joker, throughout the movie he seemed to be wearing a couple different outfits, but the main one that he wore most of the time was pretty much spot on to the Joker's in the comic books. From the purple jacket to the undershirt to even the janky bow tie that dude had. The one major difference that I noticed is Jack's version of Joker seemed to wear some kind of purple hat a lot of the time. Next up is going to be Heath Ledger.
Never start with the head. The victim gets all fuzzy.
You can't feel the neck.
See?
Heath's version of Joker's clothes were also super close to how the originals dressed. Purple suit, check. Green-orange undershirt, check. But just like Jack, Heath also had a minor difference in his appearance. Instead of a bow tie, he was shown wearing a normal tie. And it wasn't even janky. Moving on to Joaquin Phoenix. This is where it starts getting off the rails. This one is, I feel like, a little bit more tricky than the others, because for most of the movie, Joaquin actually wasn't really playing the Joker. Like, he was, but he wasn't actually like the criminal titled the Joker yet. But I'm only going to be looking at the scenes where he was, full-fledged Joker. During this movie, it seemed like the directors chose to have the Joker wear like a more realistic clown-looking outfit. He wore a red jacket instead of a purple one with an orangish, yellowish vest and a green shirt under the vest. And like Heath Ledger, he also wore a tie. He also seemed to have clown makeup on instead of just have the white face with the extended smile. Even though his outfit itself was super far off, physically he was probably the most similar to the actual Jokers. As you probably know, people that play superhero parts will train for it, getting in shape to look more like the part. And Joaquin Phoenix did the same kind of thing. He looked at some images of the Jokers and trained, I don't know if you can call it that, but trained to more look like the Joker physically. Finally, let's move to Mark Hamill. If you didn't know, Mark Hamill is the one I was talking about earlier. He doesn't actually physically act the part, but he voice acts the Joker in an animated film. Being in a cartoon, it has some unfair advantages, but looking past that, as expected, the Joker in the Batman TV show is almost exactly like the comic book Joker. Probably the only difference is the fact that he has a flower on his jacket. Now let's talk about the mannerisms and how Joker carries out his everyday life. In the comics, it was pretty obvious that the Joker was crazy, but there was something that set him apart from having just an ordinary mental illness. The Joker didn't just have a skewed view on reality, but he thought it was funny to mess with people, and he found pleasure in killing people, and not just killing people, but causing panic to everybody. In the original Batman comic, you can really see this because a massive thing that the Joker was actually known for was announcing his plans to everyone. Most people wouldn't do that because, it allowed the police and citizens to get prepared for what's about to happen, but Joker actually thought it was funny watching everyone panic and enjoyed the games that came with it. As for the Killing Joke, you can actually probably see this even more than the original comic books. The entire reason the Joker started doing what he was doing was because Joker wanted to prove that he's not any different than anyone else, and that just one bad day could make someone go crazy. He started by shooting and stripping Jim Gordon's daughter. When she wakes up in a hospital, she doesn't really remember anything of what happened, but she knows what Joker's going to do. That same night, Jim Gordon wakes up in a carnival naked with a leash on him, and Joker is looking down at him from a throne, and explains that he wants to prove to Batman that just one bad day can make someone go insane. Joker then continues to grab Jim Gordon, and he actually straps him to a carnival ride. And in the carnival ride, Jim is forced to look at pictures of his naked daughter get tortured. This entire scheme was just to prove the point to Batman. What makes this even more apparent and even worse is at the very end of the comic, Joker actually fails and Batman catches him. Probably think that's a good thing, but that's not the problem. Jim still has his sanity, so that's good. And Joker is going to jail, so that's also good. But even as Joker's failing and he's being held by Batman, he continues to tell a joke to the Batman. And while he's going to prison, he starts laughing at the joke hysterically, and he can't stop laughing. And he actually eventually succeeds in making Batman laugh, and then the last page is just both of them laughing. That's one of Joker's things. He's never in panic. No matter what situation he's in, even if he's losing, he's always laughing. He's always happy. So let's start the comparison again with Jack.
You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
Jack does a pretty good job in showing some points of the comic book. Like the original Joker, no matter what he's doing and who he's killing or how he's killing it, he does it in a way where he looks like he's having fun. Like a kid playing with a toy, almost. Unlike the original Joker, though, most of the time he just shoots people or has one of his henchmen shoot somebody. But he still portrays his joyfulness in killing people, so I guess that's still good. While also going back to the more negative side, unlike the comic books, when Jack's Joker was in trouble, he was shown unhappy, and he was shown like he was kind of in panic, like he didn't know what to do. Where in the comic books, where I mentioned earlier, he was never unhappy. Like, ever. Like, it was sort of creepy. Moving on to Heath Ledger.
Oh, you made it. I'm so thrilled.
In this category, I think that Heath simply just does the best. In almost everyone he kills, he finds some way to kill them in a way that I didn't even know was possible.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Ta-da! It's gone.
And in like the clip I just showed, it seems like everything is a joke to him. Like he was just doing a magic trick he wanted to entertain. On top of that, not only is his final big crime a genius thought out plan, but just like the comic books, he announces to everyone exactly what's going on and what's going to happen on television, and leaves the decision on everyone's lives in their own hands, as he puts explosive in two boats, one in a prisoner's boat and one in a civilian boat, each with a detonator to each other's explosives. Almost exactly like the comic books, he wants to create panic. Also almost exactly like the comic books, when he seems to be defeated, hanging upside down out of a building with Batman holding him up, he just looks at him and starts laughing while he's talking to him. Like he doesn't care about anything in the world, like he's fine. Next up, Joaquin Phoenix.
My mother always tells me to smile and put on a happy face.
So like I said about the previous part, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult because he wasn't actually the Joker until about the last half hour of the movie. Anyway, the first time he kills someone is with a gun, and he actually runs in panic and in shock. But after he settles down and he looks back at what he did, he actually realizes that he enjoyed it and he likes killing people. Next, he decides to kill one of his old friends, in quotation marks. At this point, he's already pretty much gone insane, and he's pretty much the Joker. Like, he doesn't have his full costume and doesn't have his full makeup, but he's pretty much the Joker at this point. And finally, the last murder he commits is almost exactly like something you would see from the comic book Jokers. He goes on public television and kills a TV host after telling him a joke. And after he kills him, he just sits there in front of the audience like nothing happens. Finally, let's get to Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill does both an amazing job accurately depicting how the Joker acts in books, and a bad job kind of at the same time, but it's not really his fault. This is a little complicated because since he's playing the Joker in a TV show meant for kids, or not really kids, maybe like teen-ish, there's not really killing. There's not a lot of like murder. There's intent, but there's not, you don't actually see many people dying. But he still manages to grasp the Joker's mannerisms with the gags he pulls and the jokes that he plays. Actually, during this TV show is where the Joker starts using the things like the acid flower and the fake toy gun where he shoots and it's not, a bullet doesn't come out, it's just a flag. That's actually where it comes from, and the comic books actually use that today. Finally, for the last section, we're going to look at what drives the Joker. In the original comic books, there were two main things that really drove the Joker. The first, as we recognized earlier, was creating panic, as much panic as he could possibly make, and having fun while doing it. And his second drive was actually Batman. As much as Joker hates Batman, he seems to almost need him. He enjoys to have someone to stop him, and it makes him feel like he's alive, like he has a purpose to do something. He actually almost wants Batman to stop him. In the 1989 Batman movie, Jack Nicholson's Joker seems to be driven pretty much for selfish intent. Not that the comic book Joker gave out money to poor people or anything, but in the movie, the Joker's goal is to shut down Gotham government and to become some sort of like ruler in Gotham. I was gonna say mayor, but I don't think he's really into that whole judicial system. On the other hand, Heath Ledger's intent are actually very, very similar to the original Joker's. For most of the movie, we really don't know why Joker is doing what he's doing, until eventually he explains to Batman, saying that he isn't a monster. He's simply ahead of the curve. Because when things get rough, everybody will turn on each other.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve.
Again, much like the comics, he's just trying to prove a point to Batman. And almost as if he's trying to prove a point to himself that he's not crazy. And just like the comics, Heath Ledger's Joker feeds off of Batman. He actually audibly says that he needs the Batman.
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. You complete me.
Next is Joaquin Phoenix. In the 2019 Joker movie, the Joker's intentions were similar to the comic books, but not exactly on par. The Joker wanted two main things in the movie. For one, he wanted to get back to the people that wronged him. From friends to family to celebrities even. And his second drive, at least what seemed to me was his second drive, was to find some kind of purpose in life. He wanted to feel like he had a purpose, and I guess that purpose was killing people. In completing those two drives, he created chaos, which is why I say it's similar. Because he did enjoy the chaos, but he didn't thrive for the chaos, or he didn't do it solely to create chaos. But because of the scale of the murders and the scale of the plans, that's what created the chaos. Finally, there is Mark Hamill's Joker. Mark Hamill's Joker seems to be after the death of Batman. That's what seems to drive him. Which is a slight twist on the Joker's intentions in the comic books. Because in the comics, he's not really trying to kill the Joker. he actually wants him to stay around. He wants to like play with the Joker in the comics. But still, in the TV show, once Batman is gone, there is a point where Batman, I guess so-called, dies. He becomes sad and he lacks purpose and realizes exactly what the comic book Jokers were proving. That a villain is nothing without a hero. He needed the Batman again.
Dear friends, today is the day the clown cried.
Now, after taking some serious consideration and putting in some major thought, I think I came up with a pretty solid conclusion on who I think the best Joker is, performance-wise. The person that played the Joker the best is, drumroll please, Heath Ledger. Now, I know some of you guys might be upset, and to be honest, I'm a little bit upset as well with my decision, because my favorite film, personally, was Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker 2019 film. But if we're just simply looking at what it means to depict someone as a character and what it means to perform somebody, it is to accurately represent a character. And out of all four of these people, it seems like Heath Ledger was the most accurate to the original source, the original comic books, than any of the other ones. So in conclusion, hats off to you, Heath.
If you just